Hey guys, Fishing Northern Cali here. Today I'm going to be doing a Boca bearing install on a Quantum Smoke PT. This is the SL150 HPT model, and let's get started. What you're going to need is a couple of normal Q-tips for cleaning, grease, things like that. A couple Q-tips with one end cut off or both ends. To help you get some bearings out. You're going to need something pointy like a flathead screwdriver, dental tool or a poker, something like I have here. That'll help you get some bearings out too. And that's about it, so let's get going. First thing you're gonna do is take this side plate off of your reel. To do this, there's a tab right here that you pull to the side like that and then push the side plate down. So we're going to do that real quick. And it just pulls right off. Your first bearing is right here in the side plate. To take that out, there's a spring lock that goes all the way around it. You're going to have to take your tool, your flathead screwdriver or anything pointed, and you're going to want to cover half of that up just so that the spring doesn't go flying. Then you're going to take the point and get under part of it and just pry it on up. Just like that. It should pop right out like it just did and catch in your hand. That's what was in there, holding that bearing in. So now that that's out, you're free to get to the bearing. Go ahead and put that down in one of the indents on your Boca bearing work mat. I really encourage you guys to use this for your bearing installs. Helps you keep things organized. It's got indents on all of it, measurements and all. Just a great way to keep things organized and keep track of your stuff, so check that out too. Alright, so now that we've got the lock off of this bearing, we're going to take our Q-tip with the end cut off and just put it in the middle of there, and then tilt a little bit to the side and pull out, and that should come out. It might take you a couple tries, but it should pop out just like that. Okay, so we got our stock bearing out. First one on the side plate. Next thing you're going to want to do before you put your new one in is take a normal Q-tip and just swab out the inside of that and get as much grease out of there. These Boca bearing orange seals that are dry seal bearings, so in order for them to work to their full potential, it's got to be fairly clean inside of there. Take your time cleaning this too, because it's pretty important. I'll even do a second one on there. Just make sure you get all the oil and grease out of there. That looks pretty good. Then we are going to take our Boca bearing orange seal. I believe it's this one. And it should just slide straight in there. Just like that. Now, it's not going to seat perfect just by putting it like that, so you're going to want to push it, take a Q-tip and just push it down in there. Make sure it gets all the way in. And then, now that that's fully in there, you're going to take the spring lock that you just took out and put it back on there. To do this, take one side, put it down in there first. It'll fit into the groove inside of there. Then just push the other half on, and it should go right in there. I always like to take one of my Q-tips with the end cut off and just push down on it, make sure it's all fit in the grooves and everything. Just make sure it's all good. You don't want that coming up, you know. So that side plate is done now. You can set that down on your work mat just on the side. Next thing we're going to have to do is take the spool out. Just pull that straight on out. And that reveals our next bearing, which is right here, as you can see. So this has the same thing. It's got another spring lock on top of it, so we're gonna have to take finger and our tool, our screwdriver, and get on under there. This one's a little bit tougher because it's inside of the spool area, but it's manageable. See, I've got it here. Alrighty, that is out now. So you can go ahead, you can try and pop that one out. It usually will come out just by popping it like that. Just give it a little tap with on either the table or in your hand, and it pops right out. This bearing, this one actually needed a replacement. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's really dirty. I'm glad I'm getting this done. Alright, again, take a regular Q-tip, especially this one's got a ton of grease in there. Just go ahead and swab it out. See, look at all that grease that's coming out. This one's going to take a couple of Q-tips. Anything that might touch the bearing should be cleaned, including the spool shaft, which I will get when we're putting it back in. Just try and get it as best as you can. Take your time doing this. You're in no rush. Alright. That's looking pretty good. We'll go one more. Again, these are dry seal bearings, so they don't require any grease or oil. So you want to make sure there's none in there to begin with. However, if you do decide to lubricate your bearings, Boca bearings makes a great real lubricant, and that goes great with their bearings. So if you do decide to go that route, which is not necessary, that's an option for you. Alright, that's clean now. So you're going to take your next bearing, open it up, and that should just pop right in there again, just like the other one did. Oops. Just like that. Just push it down in there, make sure. Just like that. Alright. Again, same thing. Take your spring lock. This one's a lot tougher. Put half of it in there, and then just slide the other half in. Take a Q-tip, push the rest of it on in there, make sure it's seated right, and that's good. We are almost done. One bearing left. The next bearing is located in the tension knob, which is this knob right here. Simply unscrew the knob. I'm turning it the wrong way. Simply unscrew the knob and it should pop off. And then this is really important. You want to make sure this doesn't fly off or lose this. This is a clicker right here, this first metal piece. Similar to a spring lock, it should pop out the same way. But just be really careful not to lose that, because that's what makes your drag click. Also, keep in mind when you're putting the reel back together, the triangle part that sticks out should be facing up. Alright. So it's easier. It's got a couple of tabs on the bottom of it. If you push those in and then pry up, it should come up. Just like, oh, thought I had it. It can be tricky and take a couple tries. Just take your time. There we go. Got it out of there. That's what it looks like. It's got a triangle piece on top, which is what makes your tension knob click. Then it's got a brake on the bottom, similar to the spring lock, which enables you to get it out of there and put it back in. So set that down on your work mat. Don't lose that. And then this as well still does have a spring lock inside of it. So once again, take your tool or your flathead and pry it on out of there. This can be tricky because of the drag and knob. Just kind of set it out of your way and try not to move it. Then just pry it on out. This one sits farther down than the other ones do, so it can be a little bit trickier. Bear with me here. There we go. Got it out of there. That one's a bit trickier since it's smaller and way farther down in there. We got it. And once again, try popping it out like that. Smokes are easy. They usually do come out. So that's out of there. And once again, take a Q-tip. Good thing I brought extras. And clean out that area really well. You've got gears down there, so it's gonna need quite a bit of cleaning. Don't skip this, just it's pretty important. Alright, that's clean. Now we're gonna take the last bearing. Drop it down in there. Take a Q-tip, push it down. Then we're gonna take our spring lock. Same thing, put half of it in and squeeze the other half in there. This one, since it is deeper, you most definitely will have to push down. It might try and fall into the first groove, which is for the clicker, and you don't want that to happen. Gotta make sure you push it down. Alright, so now that you got that spring lock in there, you're gonna have to take your clicker and put that back in. There are two slots on the tension knob housing per se. The triangle should be facing up, and that is important. So the triangle part of the clicker faces up on the reel. And this is pretty self-explanatory, just kind of like a spring lock. Put half in first, then the other half, and that goes in there really easy. Tough to take out, easy to put back in. So then just make sure it sits right, and that's it. Take your tension knob, actually clean the top of it, because that'll have grease there too, quite a bit of it. So clean that off. Alright, that's good. Then just twist that back on there. And you should hear it clicking. Well, that's how you know you have the clicker on there right. Okay, so you got all your bearings installed now. All you gotta do is put the spool on and the side plate back on. Before you put the spool on, however, take another Q-tip, just clean off that spool shaft. Don't want any grease on there. The spool shaft has a ton of it. Make sure you get all of it. Down to the base. And the other side too, with just the little end. Still want to get that. Make sure everything's cleaned up. You're good. So the spool slides right back in there. And then the side plate, twist, put it on a downward angle. You should hear it click in there. Then just twist it up and you're back on. So you're done. Now to test the bearings properly, make sure you loosen the tension knob all the way and take all the brakes off, and then tighten down your drag too. And then look at that. Pretty good. Definitely a lot better than before. Look at that. And these break in too. You're not at your full potential yet. It'll get better after a couple hours of fishing it. Show you free spool. We're in free spool now. Gosh, it's going, just keeps going. Still going. Still going. Still going. Still going. Slowing down a bit, but still going. Still going. Still going. And stop. That's insane. Compared to the stock bearings, that's crazy. One thing you want to make sure you do is tighten down your tension knob and brakes an extra notch when you take this out for the first time, because you're not going to be used to how fast this spool turns and spins and how much more casting distance you'll get with this. I highly recommend these. You won't regret it. Thanks for watching.